now that I'm not president, I don't have 5 minutes anymore.
No, you've got
So a little bit of an update on some bees, right? So sorry. So we do have bees at a bunch of locations in the club, right? So we have bees at the Park Center. We have 3 hives at the Park Center, and all 3 made it through the winter. So that's good news, right? So we have bees at Bondsville Mill Park.
Don't have an update on those?
Don't have an update on Bondsville Mill Park. We have bees at Sugartown.
3 of 3.
3 of 3. And then a lot of our bees are at Cheslin, right? So has anybody never been to the Cheslin site yet? Well, the Cheslin site is at 651 Brandywine Drive in Westchester, but it's so we have the apprentice programs out there and the queen programs out there, right? So we have a lot of hives out there. Anybody's welcome to go out there and walk around and see it. If you haven't been out there, you should be out there. So the apprentice program had 16 nukes going into winter. So the 5-frame nukes, so the 5-frame nukes were either in 2 deeps or 2 deep or a deep and a medium, right? So they were relatively small hives. We had 16 going through winter and 14 made it. So not bad on nukes. So yes, even if the wet, so I've said for a long time, like you can keep bees in small boxes through the winter. Ernie knows this. He's been doing it forever, and we're sort of showing it. And then the queen team had, anyone from the queen team here? Do you know what your stats are out there?
Charlie's here.
Oh, Charlie's. I didn't see Charlie. I saw Ed, but I didn't see Charlie.
What did I do?
How many? What are the stats of the queen team boxes for the winter? Just they exist.
Well, he's going to talk about that.
Oh, he's going to talk about that. I'm not going to steal your show. But
There's 12 right now.
and they're in single 5 frames.
They're in single 5 frames.
So we overwintered up near 30 hives out at Cheslin, either in single 5 frames, a deep and a medium 5 frames, or 2 deep 5 frames. So that's it. That's good to hear. And our overwinter survival within the club looks like 80% or 75 or 80% or something like that. So we've learned through the years. You know, we used to not be that good. We've gotten better. And that's all about beekeeping, right? It's progress in getting better. So we have lots of bees. And surely the people signed up for the apprentice program, the beginner program, the queen program, all those programs will have bees to help educate you this year. So very excited about that. So what did I learn? Very brief before I get on. I learned 2 things this winter. Ready? Is anyone interested or not really?
I want to know.
You want to learn what I learned?
Yes.
What did you learn, George? Tell
Thank
us.
you for being engaged with me. You can't make everybody happy. So those of us who are trying in life to make everybody happy, drop it, right? Because there's always going to be somebody who's miserable no matter what you do. Okay, the two nukes that did not make it out at Cheslin, we adopted them from an HOA. So they came from an HOA because they were mean and the HOA didn't want them anymore, so we took them in, and they did not make it. And I think that they were kind of pissy bees that kind of were angry bees, but they were Southern genetics, and whether or not that influenced it at all. But it's interesting that the 2 did not make it were not our genetics, that they were Southern genetics. So I wonder if that local survivor adaptability thing played a role in that somehow. I can't prove it, but I wonder a little bit, right?
Of course, if you don't like the hive, if you're reluctant to go in there,
It gets less care.
they'll get less.
Yeah, you know, we don't think that was the factor, but you could clearly say that may have been the factor, you know, and they were managed differently for a lot of the year. So it may not be the fact that they were Southern. So that is important. I think, you know, those of us who are getting bees this year, we may be getting bees from people bringing bees up from the south, and that's an okay way to start. But eventually what you want to do over time is try to get local genetics, right? So whether or not you're going to replace the queen, or whether or not you're going to get a nuke from somebody local, you know, if you sell nukes, raise your hand. If you're in this room and you sell nukes, raise your hand. Raise it high. High, high, high. So there's
Really
1.
high. 1 and
2.
Like,
If you
okay.
sell queens or queen cells, raise your hand. Back there. You know, so the people that raise their hand, you should get to know because they have the local genetics. So, and that's important. The other thing I learned is that this is going to take a look. So Keith's not here today, and you know, we beekeep even though he trained me and we started the same way, we've kind of gone in different directions, and he does big, I do small, you know. And what I realize is that we're both correct, right? I mean, I think that you can keep bees over winter in a double deep, right, which a lot of people do and do it very successfully. And then you can keep bees in, like the queen team, a 5-frame box, or Ed, a 3 or a 6-frame box through the winter, right? So it's all possible. Now, why is it? And I think I figured it out finally.
Oh, come on.
Here it is. It all depends on what the bees were in coming out of the summer solstice, right? So if coming out of the post-swarm, right? Post-swarm season, once they swarm and they set up shop post-swarm, if you have them in big boxes, like 2 deeps is your brood chamber, they're going to fill that, they're going to know that's their space, and they're going to fill that with brood and fill that with food, and they're going to overwinter in that space successfully, because that's the space they're in. If you're coming out of summer solstice and they're in a smaller space, well, then they're going to limit how much food they're going to have. They're going to fill it with food, so it's going to be in balance. Does that make sense? So if you try to take a big hive and go into winter and stick it into a small space, what's going to happen? It's going to be too many bees for the space, and they're going to run out of food, right? If you have too small of a hive, and all of a sudden in winter you're going to try to increase their space, add a super, add a box, you're going to have too small of a colony and too big of a space. And both ends don't work. But if you start coming out of post-swarm, as long as you kind of stick with whatever that management is coming out of swarm season, your bees are going to be fine going into the winter. And that's the way I look at it now, you know. And that's a little bit of an art, like how to make that work, but that's how somebody can say, I overwinter in small colonies and I'm successful, and I overwinter in big colonies and I'm successful. They're both successful. It just depends what you want to do. Now, those of you who are coming out of winter, there are the 4 things in your hive that you always want to pay attention to: bees, brood, food, and disease, right? So that's what's inside your colony. No matter what colony you're running, you have those 4 things. So however your management is going to be, or whatever system you're going to run, or however you're going to do things, there's 4 things in your hive. And when you do your inspection, you should have an idea of what those 4 things are, right? So bees, brood, food, and disease. Next. And sort of, you're always sort of thinking proactively. So what am I thinking about in March? How many hives do I want this year? Like, how many came out of winter? Is my management going to be to split them to try to make more hives? Is my management not going to split them so I have a certain number of hives? If I want more hives, am I going to get sort of local bees? Am I going to, find the package and nuke suppliers that are bringing bees up from the south? And do I want them? You always have to know your bee calendar. You know what I mean? Like, how many people are really confident of of what the bee calendar is? Raise your hand. I mean, some of you are, right? Oh, come on. You guys are, there's a couple are, right? There's like 5 people that raise your hand. Shame on the rest. You have to know what happens in certain months. And yes, it moves around a little bit, but you have to know your bee calendar. And maybe we could have a talk on the bee calendar and what's in your bee calendar. But if you're going to be sustainable, you need to know what month you're doing what things for sure. And then right now, even though it doesn't seem like it, we are kind of, what's on the bee calendar in March and April is swarms, right? Like sometime the weather will warm up and the bee colonies will grow, and swarm season will be upon us. And I am completely convinced that most hobbyist bee colonies swarm. And people don't even know it, and most of them swarm. And you can prevent it, right? There's different strategies to prevent it, and or you let your bee swarm. There's some people that say, oh, let your bee swarm, it's natural, it's part of nature, let them go off into the trees and all will be well. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. Next. Oh, no, bees. Bees. Go back 2 slides, I'm not done yet. Bees. Okay, so if you I'll be quick.
You've already blown that.
He will be quick.
Not today.
At some point, everyone's going to say, yeah, he kind of had some points there. If you overwintered in a double, right? If you overwintered in a double deep with big colonies, for whatever reason, that's the way you overwintered. Your colonies are going to be swarming early, right? Because they're bigger, they're going to be able to start up earlier. The idea of running big is to run big. Well, if you're running big to run big, you've got to be aware of that, right? So you're going to need to split them, or you're going to need to do something earlier on them because you're going to have more bees in that hive. If you're running singles, more than likely your cluster size was smaller coming out of winter, and you're going to have to do something because you're going to have to expand, right? So your bee population hopefully is expanding. I've got a bunch of emails about people that have only drone brood in your hive right now. So your bee size is going up, so you want to expand your space now, right? Expand your space. Your brood, everyone should have brood in their hive at this point. Actually, there's a bunch of hives I haven't even looked at yet. Some people have looked into the hives and they've sent me emails saying that they only have drone brood in their hive. That is not a good thing at this point. That usually means that your queen died over the winter and they tried to make a new queen, and there's a new queen in there, but she didn't mate and she's drone laying now. That you probably don't have laying workers at this point. If you see a lot of drone brood in your hive, you probably have a drone laying queen and not laying workers at this point. You can fix that problem, but it's difficult, right? So you can fix that problem if you can find the drone laying queen. The hive thinks they're queen, right? But the queen is basically unmated, so she's just laying drones. And you could try to kill that queen and put brood in it. So there's a way to fix it, or you could just let nature run its course, and the hive makes a lot of drones, and it's eventually going to dwindle and die. Food. Food, really important this time of year. Obviously, the population is increasing. The brood is increasing, so they need food. If the weather's nice, they can find food. If the weather's not nice, they can't find food. So if you've kind of gone into winter on the lighter side, you're not out of it yet. They say you're only out of it when the dandelions bloom, right? So once your dandelions bloom, you're probably out of the window that you worry about starvation. I don't see a dandelion out there yet, and I see more cold weather in the forecast, and I know the hives have brood. So if you're running light on food, you should sort of think about doing something. Now, at this point, I'm okay with feeding liquid, right? So I'm okay with putting some liquid on the hive at this point. If you're worried about food. So you warm up some 1-to-1 syrup, you get a mason jar or a top feeder, you put it on there in the morning, and then if it's cold at night, you may have to take it off, but you get food on the hive during the day when it's warm. I would not use solid food at this time. I would use liquid food at this time to supplement if you're light.
Why not?
They just can use it quicker. They can use it quicker. They're trying to feed brood. If you're light, I just feel like they can use that liquid food more effectively than they can use the fondant right now.
Can I ask a question based on what you just said?
Huh?
What if all you have is solid? Is it better than nothing?
I was like, buy a bag of sugar, put water in it.
Well, no.
Does anyone disagree with me?
I would put honey. I would put honey.
Someone would disagree with me. Go ahead, tell. Any other thoughts on that one? Since this is an issue, right? So some of us have light hives. We have to figure out what to put on our hives. Any other liquid users out there that want to go on the liquid side of things? Really quick, Donna, Mike, Joe. Yeah, no, for me, if I'm going to put liquid on, I'm only putting a small amount on, like a quart or so, and I'm pulling it off at night because it will chill at night, and then they won't take it once it's on there. And of course, if you put it on a nice day and there's other things out there, they're not going to touch your liquid. They're going to go out there and forage what they're going to find. So they're going to choose what's out in nature over what you put on the hive.
So when I was in this Sugartown hives a couple of days ago on the 9th, they were bringing in pollen like crazy, and they were bringing in nectar like crazy. There was probably 3 frames in each hive that were about half loaded with uncapped honey or nectar.
Nectar or water?
Nectar. It was nectar because I tasted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now in my area, I'm seeing
Yeah, I was shocked that there's definitely a lot of pollen coming in. I was also shocked about how much nectar was. There was a bunch of nectar. I assume nectar. I don't know for sure if it was honey that they were moving to the sides of the brood nest, or that was water, or what that source was. But there definitely was thin liquid on the outside of the brood chamber. So I thought that was interesting. So yes, I'm way over my time.
I do have a question. So in January, I asked a crazy question about my story, how I was like, I didn't feed, I needed to. So I made these sugar bricks, and I didn't know what to do because it didn't fit on the top. So I put it in an empty feeder that's supposed to be for liquid, but I put a sugar brick in. I haven't been in the hive since, but I have another sugar brick in my freezer. I was thinking about taking that out when I go in and putting it in case they need it. So it's...
Can the bees get to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a good consensus?
Yeah.
George, I did what you said. I had text George and asked him. I thought all of my hives died, and they didn't. The one didn't die, and it was booming. And I actually have some slides to show you but it had sugar bricks. George said, go ahead and give them liquid. So there were 2 days that were really warm. I gave them liquid. I pulled it off at night. I went the next day, gave them liquid, pulled it off at night, and then just left the sugar bricks. And I'm actually going to show you something about the sugar bricks.
And did they take it or no?
They took, well, I put 2 little containers up there, and they almost emptied one, or it dripped out.
Yeah, so my practice of feeding liquid this time of year is actually from Warren Graham, honestly. So Warren Graham is a master beekeeper who I don't know if he was past president, but he used to come and he used to always give some early feed in the spring. And I always said that, like, you're okay to do that? He said, as long as it's a small amount, then you do it. You can do it. So anyway,
Warren was using the yogurt cup.
yeah, he was using the yogurt cups this time of year to
That's
sort
what I
of
use.
give them some extra feed. So anyway, that's all and disease. So don't forget, Don Coates passed this winter. So those of you, I think we sent that out. Don Coates was a veterinarian who did a lot of work within the CCBA. We're going to do something to recognize Don at some point for his contribution to the CCBA. But Don always said, how sick is normal, right? That was his quote. That was his phrase, like, how sick is normal? And the point of that is that every hive has some disease in it all the time, right? Every hive has despite our great beekeepers in this club, every hive has a varroa in it. Every hive has a small hive beetle in it. He was big in doing PCRs. And sometimes I was like, Don, why are you doing PCRs? And you're not going to do anything. But he did PCRs on deformed wing virus. And he got these levels back. And pretty much every hive had some PCR titer in it, right? So every hive has deformed wing virus in it. Every hive has acute paralysis. It's just a matter of how sick is normal, right? And that's an important part to remember when you're sort of taking care of your hives. You're always trying to make sure that your hives don't appear sick, trying to prevent sickness, and if they are getting sick, get on top of it, because every hive has some sickness in it.
PCR?
Oh, PCR for non-scientists related. So it's a polymerase chain reaction. So it's a way to get sort of viral titers in a hive. So he would send he'd always he's like, the CCBA should be funding this work where we send bee samples off to Beltsville and we end up knowing what viruses are in the hive. And that was his point, is like,
Pull him further
so
over.
it's a way, PCR is a way to tell you whether or not you have 10 copies of virus in your hive, or 1,000 copies of virus in your hive, or 10,000 copies of the virus in your hive. And the reason why that's important is that bees are okay with 10 copies or 100 copies. What happens is when it gets to 10,000 copies, that's when things crash, right? And that was his point. So this time of year, the way to prevent disease is how?
Control varroa.
Control varroa. You're always thinking varroa, right? Varroa is number one. The other way to prevent disease is hive space often. You don't want to make your hive space too big too quick, right? Because what happens?
They get weak.
They get weak. They can't thermoregulate properly. What happens if we get chilled? Your mom always said put a hat on, right? You know, if you make bees too quick, too big too quick, they get chilled. They can't thermoregulate. They're more susceptible. The other thing people do this time of year that's bad for disease is what? What causes chalk brood? Chill brood.
Reversing the hives.
Correct. If you split the brood this early on and chill brood, you're at risk for having chalk brood and probably other diseases too, right? So one of the things you don't want to do this early on in the year is start doing the demery too quickly or start making splits too quickly, because you're splitting brood and you may not have the bee coverage for that, right? And when you split the brood and don't have bee coverage, that brood is susceptible to disease now, right? So there's things that you're always doing to limit the disease burden in a hive. And that's it. That's all I got. I took way too long. Thanks, Mark.